served in many different units throughout his career, but Larry was on the ground in Somalia with Task Force Ranger, and I want to turn it over to him to make a few remarks. Larry, welcome.
All right. Can everybody hear me just fine? Okay, great. Hey, I just want to let you guys know that I actually did the first inaugural Mogadishu mile, and I finished last, so I'm not sure if I really want to do it this time. But I asked, is there any veterans from Somalia that are here? Even better, because nothing ruins a good war story than a witness. So real fast, I just kind of want to talk about what kind of brought us here and what brought 24-year-old me, who was lucky to be part of Bravo Company, 1st Platoon, 3rd Battalion, 75th Ranger Regiment, part of Task Force Ranger. If everybody remembers, in 1992, President Bush ordered the deployment of Marines and a contingent of U.S. forces to help provide security and provide relief and comfort for a famine going on inside of Somalia. Fast forward, that project that was turned over to the United Nations, and at which time the security rapidly deteriorated, where it was untenable for forces to be able to provide that relief. So much so that 24 Pakistanis were killed in an ambush, and 8 Americans were killed in, we just call it a roadside bomb, now we call them IEDs, but an IED killed 8 Americans in and around the city of Mogadishu. It was determined that Mohammed Farah Aidid, a warlord, and his militia were responsible for it. Because of that, the President of the United States, President Bill Clinton, authorized the establishment of Task Force Ranger in Operation Gothic Serpent, which deployed in August of 1993. So I was part of that. I was part of that contingent, and the task force consisted of elements from the 1st Battalion, 1/6, the Special Operations Aviation Regiment, Special Operation, 1st SFOD, Detachment Delta, and then Bravo Company 375, as well as elements of battalion staff, which made up the task force. During that period of time, Task Force Ranger, prior to October 3rd, Task Force Ranger conducted 6 missions, infilling by both vehicle and rotor wing aircraft onto the streets. Each one of those was tactically a success, multiple dry holes. We quickly realized that we could not find a D. It's kind of hard to find in a city with the refugees close to about 2 million people. So we continued to start to work to reduce his base of power. And on October 3rd, which was a Sunday, and it was about like it is out here today in the Flora-Bama in the afternoon, we had intelligence that 2 of Aidid's key lieutenants were meeting in a building along with 12 each of their bodyguards. Even though we prefer to operate in the dark, intelligence was critical. It was determined that we were going to go in there, but also knowing that it was going to be in a hot area, because it was an area known as the Black Sea, which was a slum, which was a harbor getter Aidid's center of power, and it was just a real bad area. The target itself was a 2-story building that was located next to a place called the Olympic Hotel. I don't think you can use your Hilton Awards points there, but I don't know if anybody would really want to stay there. But anyway, as the intelligence was developed that the targets were there and the meeting was taking place and it was confirmed, the decision was made for us to launch. At approximately 15 hours, Task Force Ranger launched with 7 Black Hawk helicopters and 2 MH-6 Little Birds and 2 AH-6 Little Birds, departed from the Mogadishu airfield, like I said, at 15:30. At 15:46, the command was given to execute, and we began our assault. As soon as we left I need to go back. Once the command was to begin the assault, a ground convoy, which was supposed to meet us at the target site, was launched. Now, this is the reason why a lot of people don't know. It was always planned for us to infill by rotor wing aircraft, to fast rope down on the target to secure the target first. Then we would meet the ground convoy at the target, pull out all the precious cargo, and then we would exfil by, not by helicopter this time, but by trucks, 2 5-tons and 6 Humvees, because there were no viable LZs for us to be able to move to. So, from the very beginning, from the time we infilled, it was really different. And I'm giving you the perspective of a 24-year-old platoon leader at this point. It was a lot harder. Multiple RPG, rocket-propelled grenade rounds were being launched at us, much more than useful. We were taking a lot of fire, some of it effective. But all during this, and then also too, combined by the fact is, one of the aircraft, which was our Ranger Chalk 4 that was putting the blocking positions on the outside, Ranger Blackburn fell from a height of 90 feet against the fast rope and hit the street below. So we're dealing with that, and also they landed him short of the target. So, but despite all of that, the assault force went into the target, captured everybody. We managed to secure it, even despite taking fire from basically all points of the compass around the target. We started to collapse. The command was made to start to execute, and literally we were rolling up our fast ropes and starting to move, to start to line up, to start to move into the vehicles. And really successful and exfil the target when the oh crap happened. Super 6-1, one of the Blackhawks providing aerial support overhead, and with both sniper and door guns with miniguns, was shot down approximately 2.5 blocks away from our location. Immediately from then, we realized that our mission had changed. So the decision was made is to load the prisoners onto the back of the trucks, and they would move via a different route and link up with us at the crash site where Super 6-1 was crashed. We did not know if there was anybody living at the time. One of the Ranger Chalks, led by my buddy Lieutenant Tom DiDamasso, had a straight line 2-block move to it. He immediately raced to the target site and moved to help to secure it along with our combat search and rescue aircraft, which dropped. There's a lot of little vignettes I want to talk about, but I would say uncommon valor was very common at that period of time. I've seen the videos, and I just want to tell you a story about as the combat search and rescue team was sliding down the ropes, and I've seen the P3 Orion videos. It shows that helicopter, as it was sitting there, had Rangers on the ropes. An RPG hit its tailbone. It immediately started raising up, and then it held down and lowered and held until the last Ranger hit the ground, and immediately they cut the ropes, and Major Herb Rodriguez and Dan Gelada immediately flew and limped that aircraft right where it crash landed at the end of the airfield. They immediately hopped out and ran to another aircraft and continued flying. That was just typical of some of the things that happened. So while we were doing this, and in the meantime, the rest of the ground people from the target, myself included, started moving to under heavy fire and secured the aircraft where one of the pilots was actually crushed inside the cockpit. We immediately tried, while taking fire, trying to remove him from the helicopter. He was still stuck. So at which point we started taking lots of heavy fire, and we had to secure it for the time being. At this time, Super 6-4, piloted by Michael Durant, Chief Warrant Officer Frank, went over the target to provide additional cover and fire for those around the target building. They too were shot down by an RPG. And just to let you know, they landed about 2 clicks to our west, where they landed. Where, by the way, no one could get to them. At this time, just to let you guys know, that's where Randy Shugart, Gary Gordon, 2 Delta snipers, they requested 3 times to be put into the target because there was no one else. They were finally given permission. They landed, and at which point they secured the aircraft until they ran out of ammunition. Every man was killed except for Michael Durant, who was held hostage for about 11 days before release. But as a result of their actions, Gary Gordon and Randy Shugart were awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor. At this point, the convoy moved back to the airfield because they couldn't get to the target because the Somalis, they had a hell of a civil defense plan. They were lighting tires into the middle of streets and vehicles, and it was hard. They couldn't punch through to locate us, and they were taking very heavy casualties, so they moved back to the airfield to consolidate. So as darkness fell, the majority of the forces were sitting in the airfield, while there was about 60 Rangers and operators sitting around Super 6-1, securing it for the night. At one period in time, we ran low on ammo, and some of the bravest pilots I ever knew, flew a resupply mission, getting shot up, had 78 holes in the aircraft by the time it landed, but were kicking out ammunition and water and allowed us to be able to stay there until the relief column, consisting of the 214 10th Mountain Division, Pakistani APCs and Malaysian APCs, and the remainder of our Rangers at the airfield punched through and were able to link up with both us and see the remains of Super 6-4. So we were able to recover the pilot And as the sun was rising, we started moving out. And it was interesting. They said, "Where are we moving to?" And they said the Pakistani Stadium. And I go, "Oh, shit, that's 5 miles. That's not 1 mile." But luckily, we're not doing a Mogadishu 5-miler right now today. So, but anyway, so at which point we maneuvered to a safe area, as Dan had talked about. We were able to get under vehicles, and I'm not kidding. I was the last guy in a vehicle, and made it to the Pakistani Stadium, which was a safe area where we took consolidated and looked. So, what was the aftermath of that? As a result of that battle, 18 were killed on that evening. We lost 19 total in the whole task force, but 18 were killed and over 80 wounded. Somali casualties were high; they're well over 1,000. But more important, in my mind, that was an event that actually shaped my life and shaped the lives, I believe, of the Special Operations community and the Ranger Regiment. I feel proud and privileged to have this opportunity to speak and tell our story to all of us, and really to say so. And I had to use a quote of others because I have to read this because I tried to memorize it. It just didn't work like the Ranger Creed. But this is from Colonel William O. Darby, who was the commander of the 1st Ranger Battalion in the Second World War, and he said something that was pretty fitting. A quote that I would like to read to you guys today, and I think it's very, very appropriate for today. That we, the living Rangers, will never forget our fallen comrades. They and the ideals for which they fought will remain ever present among us, for we fully understand the extent of their heroic sacrifices. We will carry their spirit with us into all walks of life, into all corners of America. Our hearts join together in sorrow for their loss, but our hearts also swell with pride to have fought alongside such valiant men. They will never be considered dead because they live with us in spirit. Thank you for your time, and at a moment, could you please come to a position of attention while I read the names of the fallen.
Master Sergeant Gary Gordon, Master Sergeant Matthew Ryerson, Master Sergeant Timothy Martin, Sergeant First Class Randall Sugar, Sergeant First Class Earl Fillmore, Staff Sergeant Daniel Bush, Chief Warrant Officer Raymond Frank, Chief Warrant Officer Clifton Walcott, Chief Warrant Officer Donovan Briley, Staff Sergeant Thomas Field, Staff Sergeant William Cleveland Jr., Sergeant Lorenzo Ruiz, Sergeant Darmanet Pia, Sergeant Casey Joyce, Specialist James Cavaco, Corporal Jamie Smith, PFC Richard Koloweski, Sergeant Cornell Houston, PFC James Martin Jr. We will always say their names. They will live forever. Racial lead away.